Hi, everyone. So we are in episode 5. We have been talking about NTSAKISI and her journey. And I thought I want to share my journey because I have people asking questions, especially family members. Um, and I'm doing this mainly for my children and not only my children, biological, but also my spiritual children, so that they will know the journey of their mom, because now they see me as a mom, as somebody. Last year I hit a milestone, and when I reached that milestone, I said to myself, you know what? I actually need to do something about my life. I don't want to call it, I would call it a bioptic more than anything else, like a short story about myself. So yeah, so here we are. I have been working at Letaba Hospital. I worked as a lecturer, and I owned my own pharmacy. I want to talk about my journey as when I was living in Polokwane. So one of the highlights of me living in Polokwane is I had a friend of mine who was very dear to me. We went to church together one time, and during that time, I had invited her to church. Let me put it that way. I had invited her to church. I had ministered to her before, but ministry, you minister to people and you leave it up to God to convict the people. So now we are in church. She gave her life to Jesus Christ. And I think it's 3 years ago, 4 years ago, she was ordained. I was so happy, because I knew that that decision of inviting her to church was the best decision ever that I could have made. And so one of the things that I want to talk about today is my view, regarding um, poor self-image or low self-esteem, if you may call it. Um, Many people attribute poor self-image, low self-esteem to looks. I think it has got nothing to do with the way you look. It is the way you view life. I've always seen myself as beautiful, honest to God, fearfully and wonderfully made, with no arrogance or anything. I'm okay. I'm content with the way I look. And it didn't just happen like that. I had to speak to myself. It's like you say, you are beautiful, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you are made in the image of God. God loves you, God is not angry with you. I listened to a lot of teachings from Joyce Meyer. Many people speak about, American teachers and preachers as motivational speakers, that their gospel will not take you to heaven. Okay, everybody has their own personal view about life. But what I want to say is that what good will it be if I make it to heaven, but I lived a defeated life here on earth? Because I want to make it to heaven, true, but I also don't want to live a defeated life. I don't. I want to live a life, and I say to myself, I really, really managed to live a good life when I was here on earth. So her teachings, it's about enjoying life and enjoying life in Christ, uh, being sure of yourself. So I will tell you a story, or a very quick thing. The There's a narrative that is being pushed that, if you are not married, you are not complete. If a man doesn't want you, you are incomplete. If you are, and that is why many, many girls have been pushed into wrong relationships because of pressure. Because if they don't get anybody to look at them or to work, to be close to them, there's a narrative that is being pushed that if you are not married, you are not complete. You are not even okay. I even hear people making fun of people who are not married. You know, one preacher, she came, I think her name was Mama Makoli at some point, and she was talking about destiny. Many years ago, I was living in Cape Town then. As I told you, I'm a I always feel like I can be a better version of myself. Like every time I feel like, oh, NTSAKISI, you can be a better version of yourself. And so she said, not everybody will ever get married. She said, it's not a curse. It is the truth. And doesn't mean that there's something wrong with people who don't get married, and all that. And I've heard people ridicule people who have divorced to say, oh, maybe it's their fault or whatever. People don't even talk about generational cases, and generational cases are part of the things that I wanted to address on this episode, honestly speaking, because I have been, episode 1, episode, primary school, episode 2, high school, episode 3, varsity, episode 4, I'm starting work, episode 5, here we are. Why am I talking about this? It's because I want to talk about myself. I also felt the need to belong. I always felt the need to belong. I did not want to be unmarried. I wanted to marry. And I always thought that being married is a way of being complete, and if I'm not married, I'm not complete. And that narrative is not a good narrative. It leads people to make wrong decisions and be pushed to things that they shouldn't have been pushed. People can still fulfill destiny without that narrative of, you have to be married for you to be complete. I want to talk about self-esteem and how you view yourself. Many people who view themselves and have low self-esteem, if they are men, they are abusive. If they are women, they are also abusive because they don't have a balanced view about themselves. It's very, very important to have a balanced view about oneself. So I went over and I was now a lecturer. And as a lecturer, I had a choice. I would have injected the same poison that was injected throughout my varsity days. But I was teaching pharmacy practice. When I started, I taught pharmacotherapy. And I taught, I'm adjusting my glasses again. I taught pharmacotherapy because there was normally it's a medical doctor who teaches that, but there was no one to do it. So I took over that role and I taught pharmacotherapy. And then at some point I was teaching pharmacy practice and I taught pharmacology at some point. But having said all those things, when I was a lecturer for 7 years and a couple of months. And when I was a lecturer, I told myself that every child who will pass through me will not have identity crisis. And nobody is permitted to fail my course. So I would go to class the first day, I'll greet them, and I will tell them, pharmacy practice is so easy and it's easy to pass. What can you do to pass? You have to attend my lectures because most of the marks that you will get them articulating. So pharmacy practice, for those who don't know what it's all about, I'll call it a science. It's a science of, you learn communication, management, leadership, how to run a business and all that. So I was teaching pharmacy practice in first year and in third year. And when you meet them in first year, they don't know anything and all that. You can motivate them, encourage them. By the time you see them in third year, oh, they have changed. Everything is going well for them and all that. So I loved my students with all my being. And I remember I used to tell them they will be greater than me. But my vision was to change the narratives of life, especially, lecturers, lecturers who were very mean to students. Pharmacy is very difficult. It's not. If you study, you pass, So I wanted to change all those wrong narratives that were there. Low self-esteem, poor, like I was on the positive side, but I had a balanced way of doing it. I didn't just give them a course without them sweating. They actually worked very hard. to pass the course, but I did not fail anybody because I'm being vindictive of whatever, you know. And I prayed for them also. They will tell you that our teacher, fortunately in South Africa, if you pray for people, you are not on the wrong. Nobody will penalize you. Nobody will take you to court or anything. It's not like in North America. So, yes, there are people who ask a question. Were there students who didn't like you? Of course. Why? I don't know. People will not like you, not because of anything, or you have not done anything. People will not like you because of not liking you. So that was, one of the things that I told myself. I want to change that narrative. So the first narrative I spoke about is you have to be married to be complete. Marriage is good. It is created by God. It is supposed to happen, but don't go to the wrong one just because you're under pressure. If you're a woman or if you're a man, don't go to the wrong one. Because I always say this, God has put laws, and because God has put laws, the laws to govern us, he cannot change his laws to accommodate us. There are some things that God does not want. And one of it, God doesn't want divorce. Why? It is not because God hates a divorcee or divorcees in this equation. It is because divorce hurts children. It hurts even the people who are divorcing. They themselves, they are divorcing, but they are hurt, whether they like themselves or not. They get hurt by the act. That is the thing. And it has a stigma attached to it. They will always ask you, how many times did you marry? And all that. So, and I'm not saying this to mock those who got divorced, but let there be no pressure. That's the first thing. The second thing, have a balanced view about yourself. Love yourself dearly and tell yourself, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm beautiful to behold. I like myself. I like the way I look. Experiment. Look at my hair. It's purple. So it's purple and blonde. I was somewhere. We were looking for a black hairpiece. Like, I'm being very serious right now. We could not get it. So I said, but I want to braid my hair. So I'll just braid it and color it. There are some ages in life, when you're past a specific age, things don't even, matter too much the way it used to. I don't think if I was steady, I would have made this hair, I would have, been skeptical about it and all that. So that is one of the things that I would say. So I spoke about balanced view about yourself. Number 3, don't settle scores with people. Don't go into a workplace and tell yourself that you want to settle scores with people. It's also not a good thing. So when I was a lecturer, obviously I told myself that, you know what, I'm going to love the students. I'm going to help them to become whoever they want to become. So that was me. I'm not settling scores with anybody. Number 4, as my children were growing, I was also growing and I was listening to them more. They are my biggest teachers. They criticize things that I do, they encourage things that I do. So it's all those things is very important. Don't be too big for people to talk to you, because one day, if you are too big, people will leave you alone for yourself. I have said a mouthful. So during my lecturing days, I also was head of department. And this head of department, interim, not even head of department. Oh God, University of Limpopo. I don't know where they are right now. So there was a merger that was planned. This university must merge with this university. Their curriculum, the way they approach pharmacy is different and all that. And there I was, I'm interim head of department, and I'm looking at how are we going to merge Medunsa and Teflop. We never managed to merge in my time. I don't know where they are now. I haven't researched. I've not asked anybody. frankly, it's none of my business because I'm not even there, you know. So I was an interim head of department, and because I'm gifted, like I feel like I'm gifted in leadership. I look at myself, you know, what are the things that I do more and I do best is to lead. I lead people better. Um, I I don't settle scores, and that is the main thing that I've seen people do in the workplace. They go and they have a vindictive mind. You know, they want to show everybody how big, how great, how whatever they are. I'm not like that. I actually try and avoid trouble. But you know, when you when you want to avoid trouble, you discover that, you know, some people are just trouble makers. Okay, so what am I saying? Manage expectations. I was talking to my son and I was saying to him, so my first son and I talk a lot. We talk a lot. Like we talk, like we speak, you know, mother and son. So I was talking to him that one of the things that many people don't do is to manage expectations. And that is why many people, you know, get so disappointed that some people will even kill themselves, you know, because of the disappointment of not being able to manage expectations. And my prayer is that, honestly speaking, people must, when you enter marriage, manage your expectation, because you don't, the other person doesn't even know what you expect. Both of you don't even know. Do you know that that ideal person that you're looking for in a husband or in a wife does not exist? You have to make the most of a relationship. So manage expectations. The second thing that you need to do in life is ask, what are your expectations in this relationship? What are you expecting? Whether it is a lecturer, whatever, but manage expectations so that you are not too disappointed. I always say that, and please don't misquote me, because I'm not saying this to mock those who die by suicide, because, you know, depression is real. Manage expectation. One of the causes of depression, and I'm not talking about clinical depression, because that one, it's a entirely a different ball game that I will not talk about, you know, here. Yeah, manage expectations. You know, one of the things that I learned in my life is to manage expectations. I've been disappointed so many times, so many times. Like people that I trust, people that you know, I thought we will be together for a very long time in this journey of life. I have been disappointed, but I have never stopped being good. When I say being good, I mean in my own definition of good, because remember Jesus Christ said, why do you call me good? So I have never, okay, maybe I change my statement so that it aligns with the Bible. I have never stopped doing good to people. I have always, you know, wanting to do good. So I always do good to people. That's the main thing. Yeah. So episode 5 is gone.